Well, this is John Black, Super Chemist. Back again on this playlist is called All I Know About Wives, Family, Marriage, Psychology. Uh, so if you want to watch all the videos in a row, just go to the playlist. I think we're on part 8, and we were talking about the difference between a civil union and a marriage. Okay, and remember now, in a Christian belief, a civil union would be with gay people, right? Because they're like, hey man, we're racist and we're transphobic, so if we have a marriage and you want to do a marriage, we can't call it a marriage because it's all about God. We got to blah, 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 blah. And in the, so you have to be a man and a woman in the Christian or Jew, Muslim, they're all the same. Religion. In the Pastafarian religion, I just wanted to let people know what the difference is. We do believe that, yeah, there's a marriage and a civil union, but it has nothing to do with your sexuality. Being gay, that's just being racist. We consider a marriage between a leader and a follower. Okay, so we believe in hierarchy. Okay, so if you have a hierarchical marriage, and we believe that you should put the word obey into the one of the followers' oath. You know, when you say your oath, when you get married, you say blah, 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 I do. It has to say you will obey to one of them. It doesn't have to be to the woman. Okay, it just you have to have a follower and you have to have a leader, and the follower has to say in his oath during his marriage ceremony that they're the follower. I will obey. That makes it a hierarchical type of a civil union. That's a specific type of civil union. And what that type is called a marriage. Okay? So if you have two dudes, if one of them puts the word obey in there, and one of them admits that it's going to be a hierarchy type marriage, and person is the leader and one is the follower, then yes, it's a marriage. But if it goes the other, just the same way with a man and a woman. If you have a boss babe and you have a dude who's going to stay at home, or they're both going to work, that should not be called a marriage, because that is not a leader-follower hierarchy type civil union. So it should be called a civil union, because then that way too. Also, you can see from the statistics. Then you can follow the civil unions, right? And you can follow the marriages. You'll see you will have like a 90% success rate with the marriages, and you will have a 90% fail rate on the civil unions. Okay, and then everyone can be like, oh, well, I can either get a civil union and fail, or I can get a marriage and succeed. You know what I mean? At least give them I think that everyone should have the right to choose whatever they want. That's for sure. Okay, but the best way is the hierarchical, marriage. Keep in mind that like two gay men actually have a better success rate in a marriage than a man and a woman. Okay, so I'm definitely not saying gay marriages are bad. I'm definitely not saying that. If anything, sometimes they're better. Okay, because if you have two men, you have a 75% success rate in your marriage. 75%. If you take one man out and put a woman in there, and now you have a man and a woman, it goes all the way from 75% down to 50%. Now you take out that one woman, you take out that one man and add another woman, so now you have two women, right? Now your success rate goes from 75% to 50%, all the way down to the lesbian marriages, down to 25%. Literally, two women and no men in the marriage is doomed. Okay, so I'm definitely not saying that just because they're gay that it has nothing to do with their sexuality. It has to do with how many men are in the marriage. Okay, That's all that matters. Keep taking the women out or adding the women in, you're going to make it go bad and worse. So, anyways, let's get on to this. I wanted to bring up a saying by Thomas Sowell. Great man, very intelligent, very super intelligent, actually, like an Einstein, but not about physics, but about how the world works. He's an Einstein. You know what I mean? He says that when a group of people get used to preferential treatment, you get used to that privilege, right? You got this group. They're just so used to privilege. Yeah, after so long of seeing that privilege, they think that it's equality, and then equality starts to look like discrimination. You know what I mean? If they think what they have, even though they start out knowing it's privilege, just like women. They start out knowing they were privileged all through history, right? And now they're at the point where they're like, this, everything feels like an oppression to them. You know what I mean? They've been privileged so long that if they don't just get everything and anything they want, they should be able to just walk out and shoot people in the head and have sex with 50 guys and have 10 husbands and, all this weird stuff. Because they're just so used to preferential treatment, you know what I mean? They're just so used to it. Same with the way with the blacks today. They were down with the slavery and then the racism, and then everything got normal. But they were so used to, in 2000, everything got so normal that you even have the last 20 years. We've got what do we have? Obama twice. Then we had Kamala once, right? And in between there we had Trump. So that is 16 years. 12 out of the last 16 years, 50% of the executive branch has been black. It's like, come on. Like, if you look at the Supreme Court, they're all higher than whatever's, you know what I mean? Like 22% of the Supreme Court is black, but there's only 13.5% blacks. There's like 11.1% Asians on the bench. There's only like 5% of the population is Asian. And it's the same with the Hispanics. There's like 22% Hispanics on, 22.22% Hispanics on the bench, and the population is only like 18.5% or something like that for Hispanics. So it's actually higher. And this has been going on for like decades now, and they still act like, you try to give them, equality, they act like they're being murdered. You know what I mean? It's like they literally have cities that are, the mayor's black, the cops are black, the school teachers are black. Everyone's black that runs the place. Everyone! And it's still the white man. The white man's holding me down. I haven't seen a white man for like 10 years in my neighborhood, but it's the white man holding me down. Yeah. Okay. And always remember, here's another point. Always remember, you are not forcing a woman to be submissive, okay? The women are forcing you to be dominant, okay? Because a man can go back and forth. A man can be a house husband and no problem. It's the woman that's the boss babe. When that happens, that reverse marriage, 90% of the time, it ends in divorce because the woman cannot respect that man. Even though in her mind, every housewife on the planet is being oppressed, her complaint and why 90% of the reverse marriages don't work, where you have a house husband and a boss babe, right? It's because they say that they have to do all the work, and the house husband is just lazy, and all he has to do is clean the house and take care of the kids. But at the same time, in their minds, they'll say that all housewives are oppressed. You know what I mean? They're just slaving for their husband. It makes no sense, but when you're brainwashed and you start believing in doublespeak, you know what I mean? that's when you know you're gone. As soon as you start believing in the doublespeak. So they are forcing you to be dominant. You are not forcing them, okay? If you do not be dominant, they will lose respect and they will just ruin everything in their lives, your kids' lives. But also, if you choose a sub woman, then she'll want to be a submissive woman, right? So how is that forcing her? You know what I mean? It's like me. Like if I wanted an adventurous woman and I, actively seek out only adventurous women, and then I find an adventurous woman and I make her my wife, am I forcing her to be adventurous? No. How am I forcing her to be adventurous? I picked her because she was adventurous already. Just like with the submissiveness. If I have a submissive wife, how am I forcing her to be submissive? If I picked her because she had that trait before I even came along, how am I forcing her? Yeah. It's like, and here's another thing is femininity. I bring it up a lot, and I say, like, I've been feminized. All men have been feminized to some degree. The same way with men have been masculinized. I'm not talking about, like for a man, say, I'm not talking about having a lip and wrist or, having a lisp on your, all the stereotypical stuff that you think about gay people. Those people that have those stereotypes, the lip wrist and the speech, you can tell from their speech. That's only like 10% of the gay people. 90% of the gay people just act normal. I know that's like, most people are like, what, really? Yeah, that's like the reason why you think that they're all like that is because the ones that act normal, you never know that they're gay. You know what I mean? So you only see the ones that are acting flamboyant or flaming gay, then you'll think that they're all, but you're not using your mind. See, that's data manipulation. See, they only show you on TV and in whatever's and on the news, they only show you the flaming ones. So you think they're all that way, but they're not. That's just what they want you to think. Because they want us to think we're all, so different and we can't just, gay people just act like, most gay people just act like regular people. Just like anybody else is straight. They don't act all flamboyant. Women don't. Most women are lesbians do not like, try to make themselves look like men. Most of them are lipstick lesbians, and that even might be not even a good perception. Because the only reason I'm saying that is because I've been to many lesbian bars, and they are mostly lipstick lesbians. You know what I mean? And they don't pair off with the dyke and the lipstick lesbian. It doesn't. I mean, they do. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's more prevalent to have two pretty lesbians than a dyke, bull dyke lesbian. You know what I mean? But anyways, I'm getting off subject. My whole point is that when I'm talking about femininity, I'm not talking about that type of thing. You know what I mean? Where I'm saying I'm feminizing myself. I'm not talking about like wearing a dress or that kind of thing or lipstick or etc. I'm talking about my attitude. I'm talking about the way I think. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking with my emotions, with a lot of this stuff that I used to think, okay, instead of facts, okay. Now, because all I did before was just let society tell me, let my family tell me, let me, movies, TV, news, I let that all tell me what reality was. But all those things were telling me to use my emotions and not use my facts, and they twisted and turned everything around. So now when I look into it, I look at the data, the statistics, then I use some common sense. Look at the facts, you know what I mean? Put my emotions aside, and I realized, oh wow, I was being feminized, not by my looks or whatever. Although people are being feminized by their looks too. I see these things are like pop your balloon and that kind of thing. Dudes are coming out with purses and stuff, and they're like not even ashamed that you're wearing a purse, dude.